Welcome to Navigating Advocacy, the true crime podcast that goes beyond storytelling to ignite change and seek justice. I'm Melissa.
And I'm Whitney. As true crime enthusiasts turned passionate advocates, we've seen the power of storytelling raise awareness about unsolved crimes and bring hope to victims and their families. We hope to inspire action and promote positive change within the true crime community.
Our mission is simple. We provide a platform for victims and their families to share their stories, to be heard, and find solidarity. But we don't stop there. We offer practical guidance to our listeners on how they can actively make a difference in their own communities.
Together, we can create a wave of change. We're here to empower you to also become advocates for change, no matter where or who you are. We are Navigating Advocacy.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. I can't believe this month is already half over.
It's crazy. And just think this time next week, we will be getting off the boat, leaving the Bahamas.
Man, coming back to hopefully it's cold in Texas by then. It's been a little bit of cold, a little bit of hot, a little bit of cold. It's like that fake fall that they always talk about.
We have no fake fall. It's just hot, hot, hot. Actually, today was a little bit decent. I think it was in the upper 50s today. So, but yeah, hopefully you come back to some cold weather after being in the Bahamas for a few days. We're very excited to celebrate my husband's birthday.
Yes, it's going to be a lot of fun and can't wait. We'll get off the boat and get into turkey spirit. So I'm so excited this year. I get to spend Thanksgiving with Melissa since we will be in Florida on the week of Thanksgiving. So we're going to create our own little Thanksgiving tradition there.
Yes.
And do some shopping.
Oh, yeah, we totally could do that. Exciting stuff.
Some early Christmas shopping if you're already looking, because I know that I am. I try to plan ahead. Usually I have all of my shopping done by October, but since COVID, I can't seem to get it together.
Just barely getting through month to month. And hey, I don't need any extra stuff, but no, I'm about halfway done already. Like major presents have been purchased.
Looking for something to get your Navigating Advocacy fans, we are going to have a sale on all of our merch. Well, not all of it, just our tees. It's buy one, get one 50% off on our website, which is navigatingadvocacy.com.
Yes.
If you haven't been there, go check it out. And yeah, you have to use the code TURKEY23 for it to work.
Perfect. Yeah, grab a couple of those. I know we have a few different designs on the site over the last couple of months. Whitney has been working hard on creating some super cute things. So go check it out.
Yeah. All right. Are you ready?
I am so ready for California.
This might be in a location that you know of because my case is taking place in Northern California.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
Humboldt County is nestled in the northern reaches of California. It's known for its lush and majestic redwood forests, rugged coastline, and a strong connection to nature. Do you know it?
I've been to a few cities in Humboldt County. Also, that documentary, is it called Mountain Men?
Murder Mountain.
Murder Mountain. That's a good documentary if anyone wants to watch.
We'll talk about it.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. The region boasts an abundance of natural beauty with its iconic redwood national and state parks, which house some of the world's tallest trees. The county's landscape is characterized by rolling hills, winding rivers, and picturesque coastal views that attract outdoor enthusiasts and nature lovers alike. Culturally, Humboldt County is known for its vibrant artistic community, sustainable farming practices, and a deep-rooted tie to environmental conservation. Humboldt County has faced challenges associated with illegal marijuana cultivation due to its ideal climate for growing the plant and its ruralness. That's not a real word, but we're going with it.
Yes, because if there's anything to describe Humboldt County, I think that would be it. And if you watch that documentary, you'll see just how deserted places up in these mountains are.
This has led to a history of illegal cannabis farms. Humboldt County is the coastal side of the notorious Emerald Triangle, which, when you include Humboldt, Trinity, and Mendocino counties, they form an upside down triangle shape. The geography of the mountainous redwoods create the perfect landscape to hide these illegal marijuana grow operations. The remote properties hidden from above by the redwood canopy allows grow operations to thrive. This area boomed in the 1960s when the Summer of Love phenomenon exploded before cannabis was legal. Law enforcement is limited in this area, which further allowed a lawless society to form. Many of these properties employ their own security forces. I could do at least 3 episodes on the area alone and not even get into a case.
It's crazy up there. It is like the wild, wild west. I'm just going to put it that way.
As the marijuana farms grew, so did the need for employees. People moved into the area where they could make quick money as trimmigrants and become pot trimmers. As you see, with many people working in illegal industries, crime rates soared. One particular section of the Emerald Triangle became known as Murder Mountain. The Rancho Sequoia area of Alder Point, California became known as Murder Mountain when two anarchists named Michael Bear Carson and Susan Bear Carson took refuge there after committing murder in the 80s. The name has since stuck due to the large amount of missing and murdered people who were last seen on this mountain. This specific mountain has been the topic of many documentaries, including the one on Netflix that Melissa already mentioned, that was released just a few years ago. It's only 3 or 4 episodes, but it is interesting. It is very factual. And I mean, it's such a good documentary.
Agreed. It was definitely one where I was like, I'm just gonna watch all of it in one sitting. And it gave a good rendition of what it's like there. It's
Mhm.
absolutely a different world.
Marijuana is not the biggest problem in Humboldt County. According to the Times Standard, the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office seized over 100,000 pounds of illegal drugs in 2021. Remember, cannabis was legal then.
So this is all the other stuff that they're talking about, correct?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
wow.
I'm
And
sure
this
there's still some marijuana involved in that because, it's you can only have so much on your person. You can't be, transporting it. So I'm sure some of that has pot in it, but 100,000 pounds of any kind of drug is a massive quantity for 1 year.
in one county as well. This is not
Yeah.
talking about the whole state of California because we don't even want to know those numbers.
I know I said I could talk about Murder Mountain on several episodes, but I could tell the stories of the mountain's missing people for days. The list seems never ending. The nearby town is plastered with missing posters begging to find their loved ones. This week, I am focusing on 5 specific women that all disappeared in Humboldt County. These are called the Humboldt County Five. Jennifer Jade Wilmer was a graduate of St. Mary's High School and had received a full academic scholarship to St. John's University in New York. After one semester, she dropped out, deciding that college was not for her, and began touring the country following the Grateful Dead. She was lovingly referred to as one of the Deadheads.
Oh,
When she moved to Arcana, California, her mother was not surprised. The culture and vibe was in line with everything Jade loved. She kept in contact with her family while away, checking in regularly. It wasn't every Tuesday, but it was every couple of days she would touch base with her mom. She was last seen on September 13th, 1993, around 7:30 a.m., hitchhiking to Willow Creek. This may seem scary, but hitchhiking in the 90s was still a very common activity.
especially
Sh
like in places like California, especially if they're groupies following a band around. I think that just sums up the late 70s, 80s, early 90s lifestyle for a lot of young individuals.
she was headed to a nearby farm where she had planned to take a job with a friend. She left a note and her belongings in the house where she was staying with her roommates. The note read, "Bye, everybody. Went to my first day at the farm. Wish me luck. Good luck to you, Mingo, and see you in a few months. If someone could give food to the kitten as needed, I'd appreciate it. Hopefully, I'll see you folks later. Love, Jade. 2 days later, her friends and some roommates tried to visit the farm she was supposed to be employed at, and the employees there told her that Jade never made it.
Oh.
Confused and concerned, they contacted local police as well as Jade's family that she was missing. Investigations into Jade's disappearance were less than speedy. Given her lifestyle of touring the country as a deadhead, her name was not even added to the National Missing Persons database. Law enforcement labeled her as a runaway, and her roommates were never properly interviewed. We have seen this hundreds of times when adults go missing. Heck, we even see it when teens go missing. When investigations led nowhere, Jane's mother took a legislative stand and helped push through a new law requiring states to report information concerning unidentified bodies into the National Crime Information Center, or NCIC, database. It was appropriately named Jennifer's Law. Jade was never found, but she was officially declared deceased in 2002.
I just don't get, like, how long would it take officers just to put the person's name in the missing database? How long?
In the early 90s, I would assume that there was like a paperwork process for it. I'm sure they had to submit it to one person to input it into the system. It's not like just, hey, log on and add your person. The 90s, so maybe every computer then they probably still did typewriter style reports.
Okay.
So it may
Okay.
have taken
That makes a little
a
more
little
sense.
bit longer, but taking the 5 minutes that it may have taken to write that up needs to be done.
Exactly. I'm like, goodness gracious, just put it in there. If you have to take it out later, you take it out later. It's not that big a deal.
Exactly. Karen Mitchell grew up in Whittier, California, just outside of Los Angeles after her parents divorced. When she was 13, she moved in with her aunt in Eureka, California, because her mother was working too much as a single parent and couldn't give Karen the attention she needed. Eureka is in Humboldt County. She was an ambitious teen, graduating high school a year early with hopes to enroll in college and begin studying environmental science. She was in the process of applying to various universities in the area. She talked to her mom almost daily, even though she was living with her aunt. On November 25th, 1997, 16-year-old Karen was working at her aunt's shoe store, Annie's Shoes, in the Bayshore Mall. From here, she was headed to a shift at the Coastal Family Development Center in the afternoon where she worked in the daycare. Being only about a mile away, she chose to walk because it was a sunny day, even though her aunt offered her a ride. Again, not a uncommon thing in the the late 90s, for a teen to walk a mile.
Yeah, not at all.
When her aunt arrived at the center later in the evening to pick up Karen, they informed her that she never showed up for her shift. With Karen only being 16 years old, Eureka Police Department formed a command center and began searching immediately. When the public was notified of a missing teen, a former police officer reported seeing a girl who resembled Karen getting into a light blue 1977 Ford Granada. The driver was a 60 to 70-year-old man with balding gray or blonde hair, gray or green eyes, a small build, and a large nose. He had glasses, a long-sleeve blue button-up shirt. A composite sketch was created and distributed, but no tangible leads were brought to the authorities. This is a very description for someone who sees a person driving. How did you see what color eyes he has, first of all? And how did you know what year model the car was? That always surprises me because I'm like, oh, that's like a late 90s vehicle or whatever, but I'm never going to be like, that's a 1977. He had gray eyes. Like, I am not that observant.
Agreed. I am definitely not that observant, and I was thinking that exact same thing. I'm like, is this because he was like a trained officer and he's like categorizing every person he stumbles upon? The eye thing freaks me out too, because you can't tell someone's eyes. I have to like look deep into their soul to tell what color eyes they have. Not I couldn't tell you most people eye color that I'm friends with. The fact that he just did this for a car drive, very weird.
The article that I read did say that he had to slam on his brakes for the incident whenever it happened. Maybe he stopped suddenly, and so, like, that was memorable for him. So there was a distinct moment in time that I guess brought that memory to the forefront, but I still don't know how he saw his eyes, especially he's wearing glasses, he's in another vehicle. So he was super observant. Kudos to him.
Yes, good job.
In 2004, new interviews were conducted and cadaver dogs searched the largest land area in this case with no new leads discovered. According to the Time Standard, law enforcement was looking into a potential connection between Karen's disappearance and the real estate heir turned murderer, Robert Durst.
Oh, crap. That took a turn.
He was in the area and had gone to Annie's shoes and matched the description of the potential man in the blue car around the time of Karen's disappearance. Durst passed away in 2020, linking him to Karen's murder was ever found.
That would be insane.
Christine Walters was a junior at the University of Wisconsin, where she studied ethnobiology and botany. I didn't know what ethnobiology was, so I had to look it up. Ethnobiology is the interdisciplinary study of how human cultures interact with and use their native plants and animals.
Oh, that's very specific.
Which makes me understand how she made it to California, because that they were very much into the cultivating nature lifestyle. The 23-year-old worked on an organic farm in Wisconsin and taught yoga and Pilates. In the summer of 2008, she visited a friend in Portland, Oregon, and decided to take a semester off of school to stay on the West Coast a little bit longer. The free spirit, off-the-grid lifestyle of Humboldt County called to her. On November 7th, 2008, Christine participated in an ayahuasca ceremony in Arcata, California, and had a negative experience.
Oh, no.
4 days later, a couple would find Christine on the front steps of their home, naked, afraid, disoriented, and covered in scratches from the briar bushes. She was hungry, thirsty, and cold. The homeowners contacted police, and she was treated at a local hospital. When she was questioned by law enforcement, she claimed someone was following her. Drug tests came back negative, and the police and hospital released her as she was not under the influence of any substances and seemed to be of her own cognizance. Law enforcement dropped her off at the Red Lion Hotel, where she contacted her parents and began to make plans to return to Wisconsin. She had lost her identification and paperwork, so she would have to make arrangements to recover those items before she could get on a flight. November 14th, 2008, at 3:30 p.m., Christine went into a local copy center wearing the pajamas she had from the hospital. Her mother had faxed some paperwork to her at that location, and her father wired $1,000 into her bank account to pay for the travel to return home. She left the copy center asking for directions to the DMV about a mile away. The copy center said that she seemed a little bit paranoid and she was very protective of the documents, making sure that no one could read them. And she wasn't wearing real shoes, only slippers.
It's understandable that she was cautious about the documents, considering she had just lost her other ones and she just wanted to go home. So I would be holding them like nobody's business, making sure I didn't lose them again.
And it seems, of the way I read it, it's almost as if she was, don't read it. This is my documents. She was afraid of identity theft or something, which identity theft wasn't really a commonplace thing. It was 2008, so a little bit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was. But, that's weird. But that could be her, like, long-term effects of having the bad experience with the, what's it called again?
Ayahuasca.
Ayahuasca. I was thinking ashwagandha, and I'm like, I know that's not right. She could still be having some of those paranoid delusions from that drug, honestly.
It could have been. This was the last time she was ever seen. Her family would report her missing on November 17th when she did not make it home. Her personal effects were found in a backpack at a local business that she frequented. The identification she thought she had lost was found inside this backpack. And she left that backpack there regularly to walk through the national forest.
Did she ever make it to the DMV or no?
Nope.
And then sorry, was there anything of those documents that she had received, the facts from her parents, was that in the bag as well? Or is this just
No,
other
the
items?
identification. This is the identification she thought she had lost.
Okay.
So all of her stuff, I don't know if it was a driver's license or if it was a
Mhm.
passport, but her personal identification and some clothes, some items were all in her backpack. That she
Oh,
left there
wow.
regularly. She
Yeah.
left her backpack there at that spot and would hike through this national forest a little bit and then come back and gather her items.
So she just totally forgot that she had left her stuff there prior to the whole ayahuasca
It
stuff
sounds like
and
it.
everything. Okay.
Maybe, or she had it and left it after. We don't know.
Don't know.
We don't know
Okay.
how long that backpack was there. The last reported sighting of Sheila Franks was January 11th, 2014, in Eureka, California. Sheila was 37 years old and had a son. She was very consistent in speaking with him, and she rarely missed a call. When a month and a half without a call went by, her family became uneasy. On March 13th, 2014, they reported her missing to the Fortuna Police Department. Fortuna is another town inside Humboldt County. It was then forwarded on to the Humboldt Sheriff's Office. At the time of her disappearance, she was dating a man by the name of Jim Jones. Don't be confused, this is not the same Jim Jones.
That's just bad juju, though.
Crime Watch Daily reported that Jim told police Sheila went for a walk and never returned home. In that same interview, Sheila's sister mentioned that Sheila was afraid to leave Jim. He had threatened to hurt her and her family, even though she wanted out of the relationship. Sheila's personal items would be found in a storage locker, her purse and money included. If she had gone for a walk, wouldn't she have taken those items? In 2019, Sheila's femur was recovered near the mouth of the Eel River. The Eel River runs through Murder Mountain.
Oh, crap. And it really could have come from anywhere considering it's a river and they move.
The last woman in the Humboldt County Five is what brought this case to me to begin with. She's a childhood friend of our friend, Kristen Seavey of Murder, She Told. Danielle Nicole Bertolini was born on March 6, 1990, in Medford, Oregon, to Jonathan and Billy Joe Bertolini. She moved from Oregon to the Newport, Maine area as a child. Kristen has fond memories of her friendship with Danielle, from being on the same cheerleading squad to sleepovers. Kristen describes Danielle as a fun-loving, adventurous young girl.
I mostly remember Danielle in elementary school. I call her my childhood friend because those are the strongest memories for me. I remember this play in 4th grade. It was called It Takes a Wizard, and I was cast as Robin Hood, and Danielle was one of my merry ladies because the teacher wanted to cast the girls as Robin Hood and do gender bent casting. And I think that was the play that she was laughing so hard that she peed her pants.
Oh my gosh.
I don't remember this, but Billy Joe did, and we did 2 plays in 4th grade, and one of them was The Wizard of Oz, and I'm like, "That's not really that funny of a play." So, I think this was the play that she peed her pants on stage. So, I definitely remember that, and I know there's a picture somewhere with all of us in our, like, little green tunics and little green Robin Hood hats. I can't find it, but I'd like to find it.
So she was into theater like you. She was very theatrical, dramatic, or had a flair for the
She
fun.
was definitely dramatic. I don't know if she was so much as, like, into theater. This was, like, the whole class was made to do it, whether
Mm.
you wanted to or not, but she certainly had no problem getting in front of people and performing because she was the type that commanded a crowd. She was kind of loud and had just, like, this big vivacious personality, and she got in trouble a lot for it too. She had a mouth and she would talk and talk and talk and just constantly get in trouble for it. She had a heart of gold, and one thing that I specifically remember is that she would always stick up for people, like, who were being bullied and stuff like that, whether it got her in trouble or not. Like, if there was a kid that was having a bad day or someone was being picked on, she would do something stupid to make them laugh, and then she'd probably get in trouble for it because she was talking in class. Yeah, she just had, like, this just very vivacious personality, and that's really what I remember the most. She was like a typical kid of the late '90s, like, with Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and all the music, and I asked other friends of mine who also went to school with us what they remembered, and people remembered her just kind of making up facts about how the world worked on the bus, and, she had a very curious personality as well, and she would play with different hairstyles, and I remember at recess, we would take not watercolor, they were the, like, washable markers, the Crayola ones,
Hmm.
and put streaks in our hair and color it different colors, because the, like, pieces in the front were popular, and it was way cooler to
Yeah.
have them be a different color.
The chunky pieces. And
Mhm.
I never was able to take part in that because I always had dark hair. So that never worked. Did y'all do the Kool-Aid being blonde?
We didn't do Kool-Aid, but we did the markers, and I remember we had a wooden playground, and I remember people putting their hair up against the wood in this little hut and just, like, coloring it, and I think we got in trouble for that, but it was worth it to have, like, blue streaks in your hair.
Early day vandalism,
Yes.
even though you could wash it off.
Right. I swear it's gonna be washed off with the rain.
It sounds like she's every teacher's nightmare. They constantly move them around the room, and it doesn't matter who she sits next to. She's going to talk to them
Mhm.
just to talk because
Yeah.
that's who I was. And I gave some teachers a run for their money. That's for sure.
Yeah, I definitely think she did as well. I don't really know high school beyond and past that, Danielle. I think of it like in elementary school and middle school, you are in a group of kids that go to all your classes together. And so everyone is tight knit. And then once high school
Mhm.
starts, everyone starts to shift and go apart. And so that's really when I think friend groups started to split up. I wasn't one of her best childhood friends, but I was definitely in the circle to where I have a lot of memories of her. But in high school, I started to pursue drama more, and I was into music, and I had a really heavy class load. So I was just on that honor roll directory with a lot of arts classes. And that's just what I focused on. And then, in high school, I went to a regional high school because we're Central Maine and we're poor. So, it's a bunch of the different surrounding town schools going to one high school. So, we were all from Newport Elementary School, and Newport Elementary School goes to Nokomis, and so doesn't St. Albans and Heartland and Etna and Plymouth, and all of these little schools come together. So, you also have a lot more people that you're getting to know and learning. I think there's a level of that too, where friend groups are shifting and people are trying to figure out who they're going to be and going through puberty and a lot of changes. So, that's really where my memories start to taper off as I started to focus more on what I wanted to do after high school. And then I didn't know Danielle at all after high school.
But while you were in elementary school, y'all were close enough to have sleepovers, or is it just because you were in a small town where you had limited friends?
I think it kind of both. I feel like all of the girls, there was like a core group of girls that were all friends with each other, and she was a part of it. So, like, I remember birthday parties and sleepovers, like big group sleepovers and stuff like that. And I do remember staying over at her house, I think a couple of times. Yeah, I remember tie dyeing t shirts and stuff like that, and watching scary movies and just at these group birthday parties.
I always try to remember the sleepovers when I was a kid and all of the pranks we used to play on each other. If you fell asleep first, your underwear
Mhm.
got put in the freezer, or all those silly I don't
Just like
even
kid
remember all of them.
things.
Prank calling? Do
Prank
kids even prank
calling.
call anymore?
I don't
Because
think you
you
can.
can't.
I don't think you can star 69 anymore. I think there is maybe a way
Oh,
to hide the caller ID, but kids probably don't even know
I'm
what
sure.
star 69 is.
No, they don't. I'm sure there's some app that can disguise your phone number or something. Man,
Yeah,
they're missing out on the good memories, though.
right? Prank calls were the best, and I feel like now kids are just too savvy to know and just, like, talking about your crushes and calling them up and daring other
Mhm.
girls to call people up and say that they have crushes on them and all that stuff.
She had a sister named Mariah and a brother named Tristan. And growing up, Danielle was an outdoorsy kid, always playing with frogs and asking to go fishing. Sounds a lot like my childhood, spending all the time outdoors with wildlife, if you call frogs wildlife. In 2010, Danielle found out she was pregnant with a boy whom she named Xavier David. At only 6.5 months pregnant, Danielle went into labor, but doctors were able to stop it. When they performed an amniocentesis, they discovered that Xavier had a genetic mutation known as Edwards syndrome. Edwards syndrome is a form of trisomy 18, and Xavier had an extra Y chromosome. He was also missing a kidney and had 2 tumors on his brain. Danielle's doctor warned her that Xavier may not make it to term, and if he did, he may not live long outside of her womb, and that she was now considered a high risk pregnancy. 2 days later, on May 14th, 2010, Danielle's water broke and they could no longer stop her labor. After 30 hours, Danielle did not progress to the point where she could naturally birth her child, and her doctors alerted Danielle, her mother, and her grandfather that an emergency surgery was needed. Knowing that Xavier may not make it, they were already in the process of making afterlife arrangements. Danielle's mother asked if she would like to hold Xavier to have that moment and that memory, and the doctor explained that that would not be possible due to the manner in which they would have to extract him.
Oh, no.
Danielle had some complications during surgery, but recovered okay. Both mentally and physically scarred, as anyone who lost a child is, she struggled after the birth of Xavier. 2 months after losing him, Danielle moved to California for a fresh start, a new look on life. She took a job on Murder Mountain as a pot trimmer and soon fell into the lifestyle that kept that industry alive. On January 29th, 2014, Danielle spoke with her mother, telling her that she was ready to leave California and return home, but no definitive plans were made. Danielle was last seen on February 9th, 2014, getting into a car with an unknown male who was to give her a ride to her house in Fortuna from the Swains Flat area on Highway 36. It's about a 30-minute drive.
Okay.
When her mother and sister did not hear from Danielle again, her mother filed a missing persons report on February 19th, 2014. By March 11th, a $5,000 reward was offered for Danielle's return. Later investigations showed that Danielle had called a person whom she shared a home with. He was never named, but that man sent Jim Jones in his place to pick her up. Yes, that very same Jim Jones that was in a relationship with Sheila.
What the crap?
This was just days after Sheila had gone missing. Could they be connected?
Yeah, that's very strange that 2 women go missing and he's the last person to see them both. And the women
Which
aren't
is
connected at all, correct? They don't know each other.
no, no,
Wow.
not that has ever been publicly notified.
Yeah.
Danielle's case slows to a halt, and on March 9th, 2015, an ATV rider found a human skull near the Eel River just south of Fortuna, very close to where Sheila's femur was found. It would be confirmed as Danielle's remains on May 27th. These 5 women make up what is now known as the Humboldt County Five. Danielle and Sheila's murder is still unsolved. Karen, Christine, and Jade are still missing. If you have any information about these women, please contact the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office at 707 445 7251.
I think that's something that I really wanted to highlight in the episode is to make sure that people knew what she was dealing with, what caused her to get into drugs, because if I can make one person turn empathetically towards someone like Danielle, well, then maybe they can turn empathetically towards somebody else who has substance
Right.
abuse issues. These are people and they have people who love them and people who miss them, and their her struggles were real, and I totally understand why she ended up using drugs to cope. She was just there in Humboldt County in a super vulnerable place, surrounded by people who just took advantage of her.
Kristen is actively advocating for Danielle and Sheila. Their killer is still out there. She began a petition on change.org that we will be sharing. Please consider signing it and resharing it on your social media as we're hoping to get to 5,000 signatures before it expires. Do you remember when she went missing?
I remember seeing like Billy Joe post about it and Danielle's profile getting tagged and the missing posters going up. Um, and just like the heartache from that. So I think I started to follow it then. And
Mhm.
then, you would just see like update after update, which really wasn't much because there wasn't much to update until they located her remains. I just kind of followed that story through social media and through Billy's updates. I felt compelled to do more because I just saw that Billy Joe was doing as much as she could, and the case just needed a little bit of outside pressure. Like, I spoke with the detective, he was absolutely lovely. Him and Billy Joe have a great relationship, it hasn't always been like that. Certainly has turned into one of mutual respect, but I know that in the beginning, Billy Joe is a spitfire. She has a lot of energy just like Danielle, and she is very opinionated. She's has a heart of gold and she is the sweetest person, but I can definitely see her in the beginning being a mom and doing what she needs to do to get her daughter found. So I know that there was some tension between them in the beginning that eventually moved into a mutually respectful relationship. But I saw that Detective Taylor cares about this case as well. And he thinks that there's enough information to go forward with the case. But unfortunately, that's as far as he can go. He can be like, "This is all the evidence that I have. This is why I think it's strong," and hand it off to the DA, and that's currently where it sits. And the DA disagrees. I don't know a lot more beyond that because it is open, so he was careful with what he shared, but I know that it is currently still sitting with the DA, and right now they're just kind of waiting for something to come in. So, how can I help put pressure on the DA and put pressure on this case and beyond just doing an episode and getting awareness for it? Because at this point, Danielle's case had been featured in Chase Darkness with Me, which also spawned articles in Crime Watch Daily, but Billy Joe's story hadn't been told in the way that it was in this. And her interview is one of the best interviews that I've ever heard. It's just she is so raw and honest and just gives everything that she has. And I was like, I just want to do more for her, for Danielle. So I started the petition. And when I started it, I was like, all right, I'm going to be realistic. I don't want to be like, sign this so that we can get charges pressed because that just seems, I mean, yeah, that would be great. But I don't think that that's gonna come from a petition. And we also want it to be done right, like, we don't want them
Right.
to take it to court and then have it dropped because it's circumstantial, because this is a very tough case, and I don't know what they have for information beyond what I know, which I hope that they have more information, that they're withholding. So I was like, "All right, well, here's something that they haven't done." There hasn't been a public update since 2019, and I know that they're not re-interviewing people that are close to this case, re-interviewing Jim Jones, re-interviewing all of his cronies, and all of the people that went to the house of the man that I called Bob in the episode, which is the house that Danielle was staying at. All of these people have this little web and they're all connected and they're all involved with this world of drugs that Danielle fell into. And they need to be interviewed. And if they're not being interviewed and re interviewed, we're coming up on 10 years now, then it's just going to sit. Those people aren't going to walk into the office and be like, hey, I killed Danielle, arrest me. How can we get that without waiting for it? So that's why I started the petition. And I hoped that once people heard Billy Joe's story, and I hoped that it moved them and compelled them to want to sign it, to want to share that, to get justice not only for Danielle, but for Sheila too.
Holy crap. And we couldn't find any information about Jim Jones. Was he questioned, or is it kind of just like nothing?
He's been in the public as a potential person of interest for a long time. There's many interviews where media has gone up to his door and been like, how do you know? What is your involvement here? You were the last person to see both of these women. What's the deal? And he just kind of shrugs it off or waves it off as, I don't know what you're talking about. I had nothing to do with that. But no, nothing has ever happened. No arrests have ever been made. I'm sure police have spoken with him, and I couldn't find any official documents. She has, if
Wow.
you go to Murder She Told, she's done a 2-episode series on Danielle's case because she was so close with Danielle and she's very much into trying to find Danielle's murderer. And I fully recommend listening. She has an interview with Danielle's mom that is absolutely heartbreaking.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I'll link it here too.
We want to share a few ways you can support us to continue our mission. You can become a Patreon subscriber for as little as $1 per month, or a simple rate and review on your favorite podcast platform helps us get in front of someone who may know something.
We will continue traveling state by state seeking justice because we will be there no matter where,
No matter who.